Have you ever wondered if you truly know how to make your partner experience the deepest levels of pleasure? It's a question many people think about. You might be in a loving, committed relationship, but there's a quiet uncertainty that sometimes creeps in. You see, a significant number of women admit to faking an orgasm at some point in their lives, often to protect their partner's feelings. So, how can you be sure you're providing genuine pleasure? How can you move from uncertainty to confidence, knowing that you understand her body and what truly brings her to a climax? The answer isn't some complex, secret technique. It's a simple, powerful trick based on a fundamental understanding of female anatomy. It's about knowing not just what to stimulate, but when and in what order. By the end of this video, you will understand the sequence, a key that can unlock a more profound level of intimacy and pleasure for both of you. This isn't about performance, it's about connection and shared satisfaction. So, let's get into it. First, we need to talk about the absolute epicenter of female pleasure, the clitoris. For too long, this organ has been misunderstood or overlooked, but it is, without a doubt, the most critical component for the female orgasm. The small nub you can see externally is only the very tip of a much larger structure. Internally, the clitoris extends, branching out into a complex network of erectile tissue. To put its sensitivity into perspective, consider this. The glands of the clitoris, that small external part, contains over 8,000 nerve endings. That is more than double the number found in the glands of the entire penis. This incredible density of nerves makes it the most sensitive erogenous zone in the human body. This isn't an opinion, it's a biological fact. For the vast majority of women, direct and dedicated stimulation of the clitoris isn't just helpful, it's essential for reaching orgasm. Relying on penetration alone to do the job is one of the biggest mistakes one can make, and we'll cover that myth more in a moment. Understanding this is the first step. The clitoris is the primary source of orgasmic pleasure for most women. Acknowledging this and making its stimulation a priority is non-negotiable if your goal is her genuine satisfaction. It requires attention, care, and a gentle touch, especially at the beginning. As she becomes more aroused, the pressure can increase, but starting with focused, deliberate clitoral stimulation is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Now, let's talk about the second, and often more mysterious, pleasure spot, the G-spot. For years, people have debated its existence, but we now understand it to be a real and distinct erogenous zone. The G-spot is not a magical button, but rather an area located on the upper front wall of the vaginal canal, a few inches inside from the entrance. If you imagine the vaginal canal as a clock face, with the clitoris being at the 12 o'clock position on the outside, the G-spot would be on the inside, also around the 12 o'clock position. When stimulated, it tends to swell, and the texture can feel slightly different, almost ridged, compared to the surrounding vaginal walls. The type of stimulation it responds to is also different. It's not about gentle stroking. It responds best to firm, consistent pressure. A come here motion with the fingers is the most commonly described way to effectively stimulate this area. The pleasure derived from G-spot stimulation is often described as a deeper, more internally felt sensation, distinct from the sharp, focused pleasure of the clitoris. For some women, this can lead to an incredibly powerful orgasm, sometimes accompanied by female ejaculation. However, and this is crucial, stimulating the G-spot in isolation, without prior arousal, may not feel pleasurable at all. For some women, it might even feel uncomfortable, like the sensation of needing to urinate. This is where the real trick comes in. This is where we connect the 2 points of pleasure. So, here is the secret, the urologist's trick that ties everything together. It's not about choosing between the clitoris and the G-spot. It's about understanding their synergistic relationship. Think of it this way. The clitoris is the key, and the G-spot is a locked room filled with a different kind of pleasure. You cannot access the pleasure in that room without first using the key to unlock the door. This is the sequence. You must begin by focusing on the clitoris. Through dedicated oral sex, manual stimulation, or the use of a toy, your primary goal should be to build her arousal by stimulating the clitoris. As you do this, blood flows to the entire genital region, including the internal structures of the clitoris and the G-spot itself. The area becomes engorged, sensitive, and primed for pleasure. You are effectively turning on her entire pleasure system. Only when she is highly aroused, when the clitoris has been stimulated and she is close to or has already experienced a clitoral orgasm, should you introduce G-spot stimulation. Now, because the door has been unlocked, the G-spot is no longer just a patch of tissue. It's an incredibly sensitive pleasure zone. The firm pressure that might have been uncomfortable before now becomes intensely pleasurable. This combination is what creates an explosive experience. The sustained pleasure from the clitoris combined with the deep, internal pressure on the G-spot can lead to a blended orgasm that is more powerful and all-encompassing. It's this sequence, clitoris first to build arousal, then G-spot to introduce a new, deeper pleasure, that makes all the difference. Rushing straight for the G-spot is like trying to force a lock. It's ineffective and frustrating. Using the clitoris as the key is the only way to open the door to its full potential. Now, understanding this sequence allows us to confidently bust some of the most persistent and damaging myths about female pleasure. The first, and biggest, is the myth that penetrative sex alone should be enough to make a woman orgasm. Studies and surveys consistently show that this is simply not true for most women. In fact, it's estimated that around 80% of women do not achieve orgasm through vaginal penetration alone. The reason for this is purely anatomical. As we've discussed, the most sensitive organ, the clitoris, is located externally. While some penetration positions can provide indirect clitoral stimulation, it's often not enough. Furthermore, the inner two-thirds of the vaginal canal have very few nerve endings. It's designed for childbirth, not for intense sensory pleasure. So, if your partner hasn't been reaching orgasm from penetration alone, it's not her fault, and it's not yours. It's just anatomy. So, we've established that a deep understanding of her anatomy is far more important than just mindless penetration. It's about technique and connection, not just force. But here's the other side of that coin. What if you have the knowledge, but worry about having the stamina or hardness to put it all into practice for as long as she needs? For the men watching who want to ensure their staying power is as impressive as their new technique, I've come across something genuinely remarkable. It's a completely natural, 7-second home remedy that is helping thousands of men reverse the real scientific cause of performance problems, helping them get harder, last longer, and supercharge their drive without risky pills or lifestyle changes. It's truly eye-opening. I've put a QR code on the screen right now. Just open your phone's camera and point it at the code to watch the short, free video that explains exactly how it works. If you're watching on a device where you can't use the code, don't worry. The direct link is also pinned right at the top of the comments below this video. Alright, now that we've covered that, let's get back to another major myth that gets in the way of mutual pleasure. The second myth is the obsession with penis size, specifically length. Society has pushed the idea that a longer penis is a better penis. However, based on what we've just learned, this is fundamentally flawed. The most sensitive areas for vaginal pleasure, the G-spot and the lower third of the vaginal canal, are all located within the first 3 to 4 inches. An extremely long penis goes far past these zones into an area with very little sensitivity. In fact, a penis that is too long can be painful, as it can repeatedly hit the cervix at the back of the vaginal canal, causing cramping and discomfort, not pleasure. What anatomy suggests is actually more important is girth, or thickness. A thicker penis is able to create more friction and pressure against the walls of the vaginal canal and, crucially, against the G-spot area. It fills the space more completely, stimulating more nerve endings simultaneously. So, the cultural focus on length has been misguided. It's the width and the intelligent use of it, combined with external clitoral stimulation, that leads to greater pleasure during penetration. So, let's bring it all home. The secret to unlocking a woman's deepest pleasure isn't a mystery. It's a trick of understanding and sequence. Remember the key. The clitoris is the gateway. Focus on it first. Give it the time and attention it deserves to build her arousal to a peak. Once that door to pleasure is wide open, then you can introduce the deep, powerful sensation of the G-spot. It is this 1-2 combination that can transform your sexual intimacy. But remember, this is all just a technical guide. Anatomy is only part of the story. Genuine pleasure is built on a foundation of trust, communication, and affection. The most important sexual organ is the brain. Talk to your partner. Ask her what she likes. Listen to her body and her words. Every woman is different, and only through open communication can you truly learn to please one another. This knowledge isn't about scoring points or proving something. It's about giving a generous and informed kind of pleasure, which is the most profound way to connect with someone you care about. When she feels truly seen and satisfied, the intimacy you share will reach a level you may have never thought possible. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand something new, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What has your experience been? Let's continue the conversation.